All right, Beth McCarthy-Miller, congratulations on receiving your 10th Emmy nomination for directing. This one was
You?
for, you're welcome, yes. This one was for Adele live in concert in New York City.
hmm
So first, I just want to ask you, since this is your 10th nomination, at this point, is it still a surprise anytime you get nominated, or is it old?
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's always super exciting for anyone to acknowledge that you did an okay job at something. So, it's always an absolute thrill. I have now become, I think, the Susan Lucci of the Primetime Emmys, but I'm excited about that. It's better than not being her, right? Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, no, every time it's shocking, surprising because there's so much good stuff out there and there's so much content out there now that to be recognized amongst the sea of things that are out there is an absolute thrill.
So you nominated for directing this live TV event, and you bounce back and forth between scripted and live television and Saturday Night Live, which is a blending of the two. So I wonder if you could talk a bit about some of the fundamental differences in your approach to directing something like Adele live in New York City, or directing a pilot or an episode of a television show, or even an episode of Saturday Night Live.
Sure. I am the epitome of what I guess they call a freelance whore. I do a lot of different things. I came from the world. I worked at MTV when I was very early on in my career. And one of the greatest things about working there when I worked there was when they just started making all their own programming. So you kind of learned with the network. We were kind of the little engine that could. And I started directing when I was 25, and you did game shows, and you did news shows, and you did live concert broadcasts, and it just went on and on. And you did sketch stuff, you did stand up, you did. So I got a lot of experience in the chair doing a lot of different things, which also helps you kind of decide what you like. And I definitely started gearing toward comedy when I was doing the Jon Stewart show, which was the show I left MTV for. I like all different kinds of directing. I miss live directing. I miss that kind of high you get from SNL. And it was funny because when I used to do SNL and some of the ex cast members came and started, and came back and hosted that had done sitcoms like Phil Hartman or any of those guys. And they would say, I miss that high you get from being on the air live without a net. Having said that, directing single camera comedy where you're not doing, a multicam, somewhat live show with an audience at the end of the week, there's so many incredible things that are great about that. Being able to really mold the performances and really have some time to kind of figure out what you want to do and how you want to present the comedy. And you have 3 or 4 days with the script to kind of really figure out and hone in how you want to help present this on screen so it's the funniest version of each joke that it can be. That is an incredibly different challenge, and that's also kind of working without a net a little bit because you really need to, within the confines of keeping the show what the show is, try to be able to put your own stamp on it as well. So I like doing it all. It's all super fun to me, and I'm the luckiest girl in the world that I love what I do, and I go to work pretty happy every day. So and that I've had the great fortune to be able to get the opportunity to do other things, to not be just pigeonholed in one kind of directing. And people like Tina Fey and Lorne Michaels have a lot to do with that.
I should say also, some of the shows, some of the scripted single camera comedies you've done, 30 Rock, obviously,
Oh,
Lorne Michaels and Tina Fey. You got like 3 Emmy nominations from that. You also went on to, you've done some episodes of Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt.
yeah.
You've done Modern Family, Parks and Rec, Blackish, Community. So, that's a wide range of credits and different styles too in the way that
Yeah.
they're directed. Um,
Yeah. It's been incredible so far. I've just had so many unique opportunities and so many places where I've come to the show and I've been handed a script where I feel like I'm stealing it from somebody because I'm getting such a great script to begin with. And then I get to kind of mold it and make it what it's going to end up being on the air.
Mm-hmm. So when it comes to directing a live concert event like Adele in New York, talk about some of the preparation that you do leading up to it, the planning.
Sure. You know, with a lot of them, you spend, you know, at least 6 weeks to 8 weeks out deciding upon set design, depending upon if it's something like Adele where the tour hadn't started yet and you were really kind of creating a one night only performance. You know, there are some times where you're basically coming to the tour and you have to try to figure out how to capture what's happening on the live tour and translate it to television. But this was definitely a one night only experience. But we had a little bit of kinks in the armor because we were at Radio City and they had just been finishing all the rehearsals for the Christmas show. We came in for 2 days and then the Christmas show started the next day. So we basically had to move Christmas decorations and stuff for the Radio City show, get that in the wings, get it where we wouldn't see it on camera, and put in what we could put in for the set in a day, and then rehearse and shoot it that night, and then get it all turned around for the next day. So this was a little bit of a unique experience. And the production designer, as Devlin, just came up with such an incredible idea that was simple enough to be able to be put in one day, but really was magnanimous and just really captured Adele, I thought, in an incredible way. And you know, the projection really was just exquisite, and it was a way to do something quickly but also be able to make a really great statement.
Mm-hmm. So then in terms of shot selection, camera placement, telling the story visually in that way, how do you prepare for that?
Well, you know, you usually have try to get the set lists obviously ahead of time, and depending upon the project, I did the Eagles Hell Freezes over that reunion, and those guys were really nervous because they hadn't been together in 14 years, and they rehearsed quite a bit. So I had, you know, 2.5, 3 weeks of just sitting in a rehearsal space with them on stage and really kind of honing in every single thing. With Adele, all that kind of happened pretty quickly. We got the set list, but she did a rehearsal in a rehearsal space like the day before. So I sat with my associate director and we broke down the songs. Then we went to a rehearsal and saw maybe half the songs that she was playing in a rehearsal. And then day of, she came out on stage with the band. We did a sound check for quite a while. And then we went through probably about half the set and then we shot it that night. So not the most prepared I like to be, but you know, the good news is Adele is just incredible to capture, and she just stands on stage and is such an incredible presence. I was lucky, you know, it wasn't, she was, you know, running to the back of the stage and then jumping off the stage and in the back of the house for the next song and that kind of stuff. So that really helped quite a bit. But I basically listened to the music. I tried to get a feel for, you know, lyrically where you want to capture close-ups and where you want to capture big moments. And then when I watch in rehearsal and when I am directing in rehearsal, you know, I try to look for, you know, what the best moment is for each moment of the song. And for me, when my whole philosophy about directing music in general is that people can't be there live. So I'm trying to give them the best seat in the house because they can't actually be there, but also be able to give them enough breadth of the space so they feel what it feels like to be in the space as well.
Right. I think that storytelling aspect of it, in a sense, if I may say so, is something that maybe gets taken for granted in live television directing, or if people at home don't realize that's what you're going for. You know what I mean? Like you're looking for the right moments to emphasize, as you would in a scripted drama.
Exactly.
So talk a bit more about the rush of doing live television. Take us there on the day. What's it like when you're up in the booth and you're having to make those decisions and anything can happen?
You know, the thing about about live directing is that you need to be able to react, but you also need to be able to act. You need to be able to know what's going to happen next. And that's why you have an associate director that's counting music and telling you what's going on. And that's why you have a stage manager on the floor that's saying, oh, this person's coming in early, or this thing's happening then. And then I think, you know, especially with music, you have to feel the music, and you have to feel what the performer is going through at the time the performer is going through it. And I think that's instinctual. And, you know, I'm nervous. I'm really nervous before I do a live show. And especially because I'm not doing Saturday Night Live every week anymore. You know, I'm not sitting in a chair every week and directing multiple cameras. I'm sitting on set with, you know, a monitor with 2 cameras in it half the time. So just to get your eyes trained, your peripheral vision to be looking at, you know, 13 or 14 cameras instead of looking at 2 is, you know, it's a skill that I think it's a little bit like riding a bike, but it definitely, you could definitely get rusty, if you know what I mean. So I get a little nervous before I do a big live show because I don't do them on a regular basis. And there was a moment in time where I was in a director's chair, you know, 4 days a week and staring at a bunch of monitors all the time. And I don't do that as much anymore. So I definitely feel the butterflies just like the performer does. And then I just hope that you know, it's all about making the right choices and hope that you see that shot. And every once in a while, you know, you're taking a shot and you're looking in the corner and you're like, oh, that was a better one. Let me get to that. But that shot is already, you know, kind of crapped out by the time you want to get to it. So you know, you have to have really good people, a really good team, which I always try to put my, you know, the people that I know and trust around me. And, you know, you're only as good as all the camera people and the technical director and the lighting designer and the production designer and the performer. And, you know, sometimes it's magic and it all comes together. And I think that's kind of what happened on The Night of Adele. And I think, you know, Adele could have stood on stage on a black box and I could have done almost anything and it would have still been a beautiful performance because she kind of transcends it all.
Absolutely. So you've been directing TV for quite some time now, and now we're in this golden age, the second golden age of television. Is it an exciting time to be directing in television, just in the types of material that you get?
You know, I think so. It's, you know, the past 10 years and 15 years, well, maybe like 10 years of what has happened in television and the kind of quality programming that's come out on television, it's super exciting. And it kind of feels like it went full circle because back in, I'm not necessarily 100% sure, but in the 50s was when John Frankenheimer was doing live TV movies, right?
Right,
And,
Playhouse 90, yeah.
yeah, you know, and now, you know, there's such satisfying television on now, you know, and it's, you know, people have figured out that, you know, quality does matter. And you watch an episode of Mad Men and it's a little movie every week. And maybe it's because I'm in the business, but I appreciate every detail in the costumes and the production design and how beautifully shot it is and how beautifully acted it is and how incredible the scripts are. And there's so many great television shows on right now and so many incredibly talented people making it and being on it. And also just the fact that there are so many outlets to sell product now. I think, you know, sometimes you get worried that it kind of waters down the talent, but I don't think that's what's happening. I think people are, unique voices are coming through the clutter in formats that necessarily they wouldn't have been heard on network television. So that's kind of exciting.
Absolutely, yes. Well, thank you so much, and congratulations on
Thank
your
you.
nomination. You're welcome.
Thanks so much. All right, take care. All
You
right,
too.
bye.
Bye.